Welcome to Board Game Binge, the place where we bring you bite-sized, bingeable board game content from across the industry. I'm your host, James Staley, and in this episode, we're chatting with Mark Stockton-Pitt from Radical 8 Games. Mark's UK-based company recently wrapped up their cycling game called Spokes on Kickstarter. Mark, welcome to the binge. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. That is an amazing introduction. That is so much energy.
Nothing but the best for you, my friend.
I thought I'm going to doze off. No, I am awake now. That is so vibrant. Great to be here. Great to talk about board games.
Oh, it's awesome having you, and I always love to get different guests from around the world. We've had people from last week. We had someone from Germany. Now we got somebody from the UK. Then we might bounce back across the pond, get somebody from the US next week. We'll see how it goes, but yeah, this is an absolute pleasure to have you on here, and we're going to get into your most recent game shortly. It's what really pulled me in to reaching out to you because it just looked super awesome, and I'm sure you're going to have lots to say about that. But before we get there, Mark, I know you've got a bit of a story on how you got into this industry. You start off as a designer, you're doing games for other people, and then that eventually kind of pivoted into becoming a self-publisher. Where did this all begin? Like, when did you start kind of designing games, and why?
So I think a lot of designers and board gamers, it's almost like the same story where from a very young age you play board games and you just start making them. Like, when I was a child and playing Cluedo, Monopoly, those old basics, and it's a case of I'm going to try making games and other things, and then It was after university when I got a job and I started playing hobby games for the first time, and I really got into it. And I think, like a lot of people, it's my first game was Bang, the card game. And I bought it just because it's in a bullet-shaped box, which not a bad idea actually, because it is a fantastic game. But played loads of games, got really into it. Joined a local club for board games. And along the way, I just thought, I've got some ideas of my own. I'd like to see this in a game. Tried lots of different things. And I'm actually, so my main job is a teacher. So ended up trying lots of games with the students. Today we're going to learn how to, what was it? Oh, there's one race show. But we're going to do it through this weird worker placement game and other stuff like that. And it rarely worked, but just this constant kind of, I've got these ideas, I need to get them out somewhere. And the people in my local board games club, they're always great. I think they put up with a lot of me bringing games along, saying, hey, what about this? Let's try this. And eventually, one of those ideas kind of formed itself fully in a game called Newspeak, and this was kind of I designed other games before this, but this was the first game that actually got picked up by a publisher called Inside the Box, and they're no longer they're no longer with us. It sounds more serious than it is. They're no longer a publisher, but I was able to see them kind of the process that they went through, kind of taking the game, how they developed it, how they play tested it, how they got the artwork for it. And I was fortunate enough, because they're also based in the UK, I was fortunate enough to go and kind of visit them a lot and join in with the play testing and everything else. And this is, because they're no longer with us, I don't think it's too bad to say this. A lot of what I was able to observe was kind of what not to do. Because the pitfalls of crowdfunding and Kickstarter. There's so many mistakes you make with kind of your first one. And
first one, I'm still making mistakes. What are you talking about?
I was going to say, so there's so many mistakes you make with your last one. It turns out that's why it's your last one. And it was kind of the case with this company as well. I remember I was just watching what they were doing. It's kind of like, okay, and I remember I said to my wife, I said, I think I can do what they do, but without going bankrupt in the process. And that is kind of like, can I do that? Can I put it together? And I'm really great. I know they made mistakes, and a lot of people they didn't fulfill place and everything, but I'm still grateful for them for taking a chance with my published game. And I know they made mistakes. The
Did they
Kickstarter,
fulfill your game though? Was your game fulfilled? Or?
they fulfill my
Oh,
game.
thank
Yeah,
God.
absolutely. They did. So that was nice.
Yeah.
Obviously, but I was like, okay, that gave me the confidence to actually think, you know what, I think I can publish these games without having to go through the process of sending it to a publisher, because it's all, when you're a designer, it's always so much, you put so much work into it and then you send it off to a publisher. And I remember waiting, like, someone would say, they're interested, we'll take your submission, and then you'd wait a year, and then a year later you get a rejection, and you wouldn't get your prototype back. And some of them, they're like, this has taken actually quite a long time to make something quite intricate, and that you get no's. That's absolutely fine. I think it was just waiting. It's just
I was gonna say there's two things there. One is that when you say how not to go bankrupt, one way not to go bankrupt is actually have a full-time job on the side and have this be your side gig versus your full-time gig. Because once it becomes your full-time gig, you are a slave to the machine. You must output games. You must output campaigns. If you have employees, that's even worse. You're having to have other people fed, all based on whether that game succeeds or fails. And it adds a lot, like a different level of pressure to you than if it's something where you have regular income and you can let the thing pay for itself versus, and then quite frankly, if you have to kind of top it up, you've got cash to do that. That's a huge thing. The other thing I was going to say is, when you said, it's tough to make money as a designer submitting to other publishers. This is true as well. Mondo Davis recently was doing a TikTok I was watching. He was recently at the Op Games, and his piece of advice is he's going through the math of, here's what if you want to be a designer, here's the math of kind of what you're probably making. And I'm not sure if a lot of designers understand that, like, maybe you walk away with $1,500, right? Like you might not make a lot of money. You've got a game published out there and you've got, that accolades, and that's cool if that's just a hobby. But if you have these ideas that you're going to make it rich designing a game, unless you go to the publishing side, it's very tough to do that. And even on the publishing side, it's tough to even have it be sustainable enough to carry an income. Usually most people in this industry have primary jobs, and this is kind of a side hustle, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I couldn't do this. I'd love to, give me an evergreen game or a Kickstarter that goes gangbusters. I'd absolutely love to, but you're 100% right. Just the pressure of doing this when you say, this is what I rely on now to live, not just this is what I'm going to do as kind of part hobby, part-time work on the outside that I don't need. If it doesn't work, it's disappointing, but you're still going to pay your mortgage and stuff like that. It's so different. As just on your other note as well, I'm terrible at remembering people's names, but there's somebody who I do know and I follow on Facebook, a designer, and he was talking about his design perspectives, which is behind me, but I can't see the name. Darn it. But he was just saying as well, the amount of games that he has to submit. It's like you design, you submit, you design, you submit, you design, you submit, and you almost have to have that treadmill. And a lot of them are going to be kind of mass market designs. You're not. Some of them you're designing because you think, this is something I've always wanted to make, and this is a fantastic inspirational idea I've had, and I'm going to really hone it. But he said a lot of it, if you really want to make something where you have to live off it, you have to be submitting a lot of mass market designs that maybe, they're great fun for 20 minutes, that actually those are the ones that are going to keep you bankrolled. So really interesting to hear from people who do that full time.
That's a good point,
which isn't
right?
me
If
at
you're
all.
doing if you're doing like an RPG game, or if you're doing any kind of like a Euro game, maybe you're making 1,500 copies. 5,000 is probably on the high end. Whereas a mass market game, like something like All Play would put out, you're tens of thousands of copies you're making, right? So
absolutely. Yeah, he does a lot of the Cosmos, like the Cosmos detective style games or narrative style games. And obviously those, they're £10 on the shelf, but they fly off, and people they buy it once, buy it, and then so you buy the next one, and so on. So just really interesting seeing it from that perspective as well.
What were some of the things that you saw this other company do that you knew that you didn't want to repeat?
So, so a key one was they hired people. So they had a big Kickstarter, very, very successful Kickstarter.
Yeah.
And they immediately hired, it was like office space in London, which is crazy, London. But then they also hired staff, and it's like, this is just immediately you're like that you're never gonna see a positive return. I think that they had a belief that as soon they had so many backers for the first one, there was an automatic assumption they'd return for the next Kickstarter, even before the first one was fulfilled, and it was exactly. And I think they then ended up going through the route of having like 3 unfulfilled Kickstarters, and that was the end. So it's just, I mean, again, he was the person in charge of that. I think it was just a case of, we know how to make money, we know how to get a successful Kickstarter, we'll just do it again and again. But that just wasn't the case.
I think sometimes
they struck gold once, and
I think sometimes people get enamored with the idea of being a boss, right? Or of having a company. And like, that's a red flag, right? If you've done one campaign, it's like, all right, let's go get some office space and let's start hiring staff. I mean, you need to bootstrap as much as you can. And only when absolutely necessary, you're stretched so thin that it is impossible to get this extra thing done unless you bring in another individual. Then you hire that, and that other individual, you bolt them on as a contractor, right? And only when you have then so many contractors that you have that it makes more sense to have a full-time employee, because you have full-time contractors. Then you bring on an employee. Like, you really have to make sure that this is done incrementally and only when absolutely necessary, or you're setting yourself up for a world of pain, right?
Yeah, it's just, absolutely. I mean, I think in terms of, I've got an artist who I use all the time. I've used them like pre-AI art, so it's great to actually have them, because it means that I've got someone I can trust not to use AI art at the moment. And it's kind of like, that's the only person who I regularly, because I'm always saying, oh, I've got this game idea, do some art. But other than that, it's I'll pay people to help out on a stand, and that's everything else, do it myself. The marketing, as much as I hate going on social media and that kind of thing, do it myself. Everything else, do it myself. And that kind of the profligacy, I can't say the word, that spendthriftiness, where it's like, I've got this money, it's just hard to do some people to do the things they don't want to do. It's like, no, you can't do that. You can't do that at all. Though, that and an accountant. Have to have an accountant.
You definitely need that, or a bookkeeper for sure. Yeah, they have the like, I started looking at things in terms of backers. So what I mean by that is, instead of saying, oh, XYZ is going to cost X number of dollars, I'll look at that and say, how many backers do I need to justify that cost?
Yeah.
And if I don't think I can get that many more backers to justify that cost, I won't do it. Right. Yeah. Or if I say, okay, I have to spend X number of dollars on this thing that is a nice to have versus need to have, how many more backers could I get if I spent those dollars on ads instead?
Yeah.
Or on lead generation.
That's really important. The amount of times I've looked at things and I've just thought, actually, if I just buy Facebook ads, that's just a lot more cost sensitive, and it just makes more sense. Absolutely.
Conventions is a perfect example of this. I have a local one here in Canada that they've increased their prices again. I'm looking at the cost of that. I'm like, okay, so that weekend is probably going to be about $1,200 by the time it's all said and done, of paying for the booth, manning the booth, and all that kind of stuff. How much product am I going to sell at that show? Probably enough to cover off the $1,200. Like the last one we did was break even, right? Because it's Canada, so it's not a massive convention, right? It's the biggest one we have, but it's still small versus the other ones out there. And then I looked at that. I said, okay, well, that $1,200, instead, if I put that into ads on my next campaign, how many more backers would I get? Well, the answer was significantly more.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
$1,200 of meta ads is meaningful.
Yes. Right? That's so true. We've got there's 2 conventions I do. One is a great convention. It's local. It's just down the road from where I work, which is amazing.
Yeah.
But it's small, and I went there to sell once, and it just is. And the person who runs it is a brilliant person. I'm not disparaging the convention at all, but it is a small convention, and I was there with my one game, And it's like, yeah, this financially doesn't make sense. So now I'll go there, just do a bit of demo, a lot cheaper, just demo. But you have to kind of make that decision. And the UK Games Expo, which is our big games expo,
Yeah.
I always tell people, you go there to sell. I've been there once where I actually didn't have any stock to sell, and I was just demoing. And the amount people come up to you and they say, "Oh, can I buy it?" No, and they just walk away. And you think that is a selling convention.
Yeah.
That's where you go to sell. And you make, as a publisher, you make those decisions. It's like where you're allocating the money and which convention to demo, which to sell, and which. Most of them, it's just a case of I'd love to do it, but just the return for what I'd spend going there, staying over, it just doesn't feed back as a sensible return.
I'll give you another one that this is, and I've said this on the podcast in the past, but I'm going to say it again because it's important, is when you think how much it costs to do some of these preview videos, right? So if you take some of the big previewers like a Dice Tower and so forth, how much you're going to spend on that. If you took those funds, let's say you plan to spend like $3,000 on preview videos once you take, some larger ones you're hoping is going to give you some kind of airtime. If you took that same amount of money and put it into making production copies of your game, so a low run of like 100 units, which you're going to pay a premium for, but still you could do for under $3,000, and offer to give a copy to any reviewer with any audience size at all that wants to take it and review it, you're going to get a factor of 10 times the amount of exposure for the same investment. So instead of saying 3 preview videos with high-end publishers, you might get 50 across multiple audiences, across multiple countries, right?
It's crazy. So one of my campaigns that I did, The Mask, which is it's a little abstract game about threading things.
Yeah.
I went. This was after I had kind of my first success, which is not a massive success, but it was a moderate success, and I was massively pleased with it. But I thought I'm going to pay for some really like valuable previewers. I thought, and so I spent a lot of money on that and no money on Facebook ads, and it just did not pay. It was, I was like, that was such a mistake. And now I'll always, because high quality preview videos, I think they're expected on any crowdfunder page. People expect to see them. And so I'll always pay for a high quality preview video, and maybe 2 if I think, oh, actually this person's audience will draw in to meet it, but never more than that. Like I've learned that mistake.
I stopped paying about 5 campaigns ago because I had done the math. I'm not going to say the 3 I did, but they were high profile, massive audiences. And when I looked at the actual views of those videos, is like, okay, I didn't get a massive chunk of their audience. I got a fraction, maybe 100, 150 views. And of those, maybe 2 or 3 comments. And I started just kind of doing the math saying, gosh, so say they had like an audience of 20,000. Well, if I could get like 10 reviewers that have audiences of 2,000 each of their audiences are probably unique to them. There's probably not a lot of overlap. The perception of your game being being reviewed by more people, it seems to have paid out. So, what I do is now I have the videos. So if you go through any of my recent pages, you'll see 10, 15 preview videos, which again, everyone is like, people have upped their game. There's a lot of new people getting into the industry that have very high production value, and they're willing to do it for free because they're trying to build their portfolio. And you're going to have the ones that you come to this year that maybe, they did last year, you come back to them, and this year they're like, now we're charging because we've got an audience size. Totally cool. Thank you for everything you've done in the past. We're going to move on to ones that we don't pay for because that's just our model. And you're going to keep adding people, and you're going to lose people on the tail end. You're going to keep adding people on the front end, but you're always going to have a suite of videos to show on that page. Because I'm not sure how many of those people actually, I think people want to see that there are videos. I don't know how many they actually watch.
That's it. That's
Maybe
it. It's the same. It's like, I think it's the same thing for having a rule book. You want to have a link to a rule book, but I think you're having like 5% of the people actually click on that link. But if it's not there, you're having 90% of people complain that it's not there. I think it's exactly the same thing. That's crazy.
So
I was just going to say that's worked well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Forks.
So how you?
Yeah,
So that was your first entrance into Radical 8. Was it Forks the first
yeah.
one? Yeah, yeah.
That was it. So my plan was I had this idea for a card game, and I'd been trying it. I'd made my kids play it at school because it's a lot of number work, nice bit of maths,
Yep.
some zero pairing, work with negatives and other stuff. And I thought a card game, nice and small. I could get it printed in Europe, um, and I actually talked to. There's someone called Jackson Pope, and I was following his blog, and he made his own boxes and things to cut down on the cost. And I thought I'll
Yep.
give that a go myself, and I didn't regret it. I would never do it again because it was a success, small success. I think we had 200 backers, something like that. But that was enough to, get a foot in the door. And, it's like, okay, this is how Kickstarter works. This is how Kickstarter works. This is, these people review the game. This is and it did teach me a lot. And I did tell someone I did make a profit on that game, but it also took me, I think I was stuck in my garage for about a full week just making cardboard boxes.
Oh boy.
Like I had a card cutter, I got a little Cricut cutting out the card, then I'd take it, sellotape the sides, then I'd put the plastic wrap over it, like with all the information on. Two-piece card boxes, had a shrink wrap machine. So technically I made a profit, but it was not worth that amount of manual labor in a cold garage sending them out. But it was worth getting to people's hands, and it's it's got a place in my heart. Obviously, I mean I don't have loads of games out there, but that one definitely does because
Yeah.
it's the only one I actually designed as well. Because after that, I just started publishing other people's.
Smart. Yeah,
Yeah,
and clearly, I mean, I've seen. Was it Die of
Die
the
of the
Dead?
Dead.
I saw that one
Yeah.
everywhere. I remember when that came out. I was
Oh
like, "Oh
yeah,
wow, that looks actually quite visually stunning." Yeah.
yeah. That was so. That one. It was this. Got a friend called James, and I didn't actually. I wouldn't say he was my friend until after I'd seen this. I was at Aircon, and he was, which is the local convention,
Hmm.
and he was just playtesting this game with these caskets that he'd bought from a local shop, like little paper craft shop. And I just said, those caskets, they're an amazing, like that will grab people's attention.
Yeah.
The theming, there was some kind of Day of the Dead theme because he'd called it Die of the Dead. He'd come up with that name,
Mm.
but it wasn't kind of properly immersed in it, and there was still loads of stuff to do. So I spoke to him. I said, "Does anyone else want to publish it?" He said, "No." I said, "I'll take it. Like I'll change it lots, but I'll keep those caskets. We'll keep the dice. We'll keep the name. Play test it together." And eventually, and I came up with this. I was mad after the caskets because tried making those out of card. I tried making other things out of card, and that's when I came up with these cardboard steps,
Yeah.
which you assemble once, and then there are these like 3D. Just a 3D racetrack essentially, but it looks stunning, and the whole game. So that's also when I got in touch with Rusam Bell, who is a Mexican artist, because I wanted someone from Mexico to do all the artwork and everything
Yeah.
else. And she's been absolutely brilliant, and she just produced so much great artwork and helped a lot as well with kind of just really immersing it in the theme. And so, and that was amazing. That did incredibly well, and I always knew it would. As soon as I saw those caskets, I just thought that's a great theme that's not been done. Everyone refers to Skull, and I love Skull. It's a great game with great artwork, but it's not Day of the Dead themed. It's got the artwork, but it's not got the theme,
Mm.
and it's just so untouched, and so massively, that did amazingly well. That did well enough that I was able to print an expansion, get a little variant out and an expansion, and get a reprint for that. So that was just superb. That game, I
Oh, I
think it is
love any
done
kind of
really
dice
well.
placement games. I absolutely love. And then how'd that look? Like how'd that lead into Spokes then? And how did you meet the guys who did Spokes?
So yeah, it was a few years ago, going down to the UK Games Expo, and my friend Robert, he helps me with a load of stuff, loads of play testing, and helps me on my stand and everything else. He told me he does lots of online play testing, and he told me about this game that he play tested and he entered into the Cardboard Edison Awards, and he said it placed. It didn't win, but it kind of got one of the runner-ups. and he described it to me, and I just said to him, "That sounds amazing." And
Yeah.
so, whilst I was at the convention, I saw. So I love to play test people's games. See what people are bringing, and I'm always looking for something new, unique, but really clean. Anything that's kind of like, you can describe it in a sentence like, okay, that's a mechanic I've not seen before. That's what I'm looking for. And there's always good stuff there. But this time, this game that was described to me in the car on the way to the convention, that was the one I was interested in. And so in the evenings, when I got back to the hotel, I was kind of Googling the Cardboard Editor was looking, then I was emailing him. And eventually, and I remember I contacted the people at Cardboard Edison as well, but eventually he got in touch, just play tested it on online. And afterwards, I just said, yeah, I want to publish. This is such a good game. I want to publish it. And he said, yeah, no one else is. Again, I find it crazy. I always look at the Cardboard Edison Awards because there's so much stuff there. People are saying, oh, this game is brilliant.
Yeah.
And a lot of it gets signed up and published. And anything that doesn't, I'm like, oh, well, I might just watch your videos. Let's see if it'll fit, because someone's done all the hard work of designing this game that other people think is brilliant. I'll happily swoop in and just take the money
I'll take
from
the
it.
crumbs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's fine. And so, there's a few. It was so good because it came so ready made as well. It's like the amount of spokes, the board, the everything is like, okay. The only thing that needed to be changed was the starting. For some reason, Bert had a setup where the start player was really convoluted. I can't remember what he did, but at the end I said, why don't we all just start on the board and whoever's at the back goes first?
Yeah.
So, that works. That's it. And then it was also the slipstream mechanic. We just wanted something where if you couldn't go really on your turn, if it was like blocked by another player, that it didn't feel bad, you'd still get something out of it. And so it's just, what if you just, on a future turn, any spoke is wild? Yep. And that's it. Nothing else needed changing. And it's had such a great reception. And when you look back, because it was on the Cardboard Edison Award, I was always curious. So I go back and I say, what did the judges say about this? And a lot of the judges just said, there's lots of spokes to put out, so that's going to be really annoying. So that's why we had the recessed board, because you put out loads of these wooden spokes. And so because it's recessed, yes, it's going to take a few minutes, but every game has got set up. And actually a few minutes of pushing these spokes into boards, not a bad thing at all. And then there were just some other things I just don't think it was complex enough for some of the judges. Like in their mind, they wanted like variable player powers and, additional things. And it's just a race game. It's just a really efficient, clean race game.
I never underestimate people's ability to overcomplicate something that's working.
Oh yeah.
Just for the sake of overcomplicating it. Like like I want you to describe this to the listeners of how you play this game, because I was showing visuals here on the screen, but it's cool. Like you each have a bike, right? And your bike has these little wooden, think almost like not Ticket to Ride. I'm thinking like little, what are some of the games?
It's like
Settlers of
Roads
Catan.
of Catan.
Yeah. Settlers of Catan. Those little wood sticks, right?
The roads.
So you're putting these in around your wheel on your little player board, and there's different colors. And then you're moving between them with your, I think, 1, 2, or 3 steps between the spoke.
Yep.
And the last one you jump over is the color you pick up, and you put it on the board and you replace one of the sticks around the board, correct?
Yep, that's exactly it.
Yeah, and then you're trying to get your color to form a chain around this board, so you're advancing your cycle. Brilliant. I mean, it's such a cool mechanic, and visually it looks really good. I'm loving the fact you guys have a Canadian racer on there. Right?
Oh no, there's some people in Canada who just, I think they back Forks and they back us every time. It's like, okay, it's always
Team
happy.
Canada. I love seeing I'm here in Canada, so it was great seeing the hometown represented. But yeah, just a really, really cool way around. Like that mechanism I thought was really, really clever. And then the artwork, which again is visually stunning. Was this your artist that did the artwork, or did the artwork come in the game?
It's Ruth. No, she did all the artwork.
Okay.
And so I said to her, look, I've got this game. It's set in a velodrome. We want it to look as colorful as possible, kind of bright neon, but it's about bikes. What can you do? And then she just sent back some sketches, and I was like, yeah, this is just perfect. And I mean, my initial one, I said, I'll tone down the board a bit. And then all my playtesters were like, you're crazy. And I went, oh, yeah, no, don't keep it, boost it up, make it even more colorful. And no, it was really good. It's one of those things where her artwork is really, I think it's brilliant. And it's subjective art, but I think most people think it's brilliant. And then we put it online, and immediately people say, that's AI art. And I actually had to go back to it was so we were doing Facebook ads, and the comments underneath it was like, oh, this is AI slop, all this stuff. And so I went back to her and I said, could you just send me the sketches? So when a lot of the stuff she sent me, like she'd flattened the layers in Photoshop. So I said, just send me the layers individually, and she did. And so I composed like a GIF of just the whole box art being put together and the sketches, and just said, look, this is how it all came together, not AI.
It's so annoying, this whole mob mentality you have online. Where they're just looking to go after anybody. And it's like I had this on Cities of Venus. So we had this cover where there's like a floating city in the clouds. And like we had an artist spend like a lot of time on designing this. And people were like, this looks like AI art. And I was like, guys, like, come on, man. Like, number one, you're insulting the artist. Right, who put the work into that. So same thing now. I'll put like Procreate has this, people use that to do digital drawings. You can actually do like a time lapse to show the thing being drawn, and I'll actually put a GIF of that now on my pages to show the art being actually created. But this whole mob mentality I had a video where I thought of a funny skit I had around being chased by zombies, and then the only thing I was worried about was the fact I forgot my dice tray. And so I used Sora 2 to create this, right? And I put this on my Instagram page, and the amount of like hate of people were like, "How dare you use AI slop? And you must be using this for all your games." It's like, guys, chill. It's a funny skit to make my friends laugh. Didn't realize this is gonna like overturn the table here, right? Like it is insane, but. Unfortunately, it's the environment we're having to live in until people learn to chill out. And yes, I just said that people need to chill out, and and get on to what's important, which is just let's come up with some cool game ideas, and let's get some cool game ideas to the market, right? And the more we can do that, I think the more this hobby is going to grow. Yeah, exactly. What do you have coming next? You must be working on another thing.
I do. I've actually signed a game. And we've been working on a name, and I asked loads of people online because I could not come up with a name for this. It's a fantastic game where players compete to build a map together, and they're all building the same map, but the most accurate wins, and they all decide who's the most accurate by placing numbers on the map. I think I've explained it terribly, but just like Spokes, it's a really clean, efficient rule set. It's one of those things again. The rules for the next game, it's going to be called Latitude. That's the name I decided yesterday. So and it's also got the most votes online. So Latitude is going to be the game. Really clean, efficient gameplay, beautiful art by Ruth and Bell again. Hopefully launching either the end of this year or the start of next. It just depends when we can get the prototype copies made up and out, but really excited about that one.
Oh, it's amazing. Well, Mark, I want to wish you all the best on Spokes and the delivery of that. I know it's going to be hitting retail soon, so people can stay tuned. It's going to be coming to your local FLG. I'm sure you're going to be able to see pre-orders online from them, as well as I'm sure you can see it even through the online store. And I can't wait to see this next game. Maybe we'll get you back when Latitude is ready, and we'll have you talk about it.
That'd be great. Thank you very much.
All right, my friend. You take care. Cheers.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thank you. Bye.
This has been an episode of the Board Game Binge podcast, hosted by James Staley, produced by James Staley and Mike Bruner, with original music by Nick Smith. If you would like to watch these interviews live, simply subscribe to our YouTube channel, Board Game Binge, and you'll get access to live interviews, giveaways, and interesting board game content from across the industry. I can't wait for you to join us. See you next time.